The Whittaker and Costa situation is unusual in that Paulo Costa never signed up to fight Robert Whittaker, and they kind of got ahead of themselves by announcing that fight for Perth. But Costa never signed it, and has stated that he will not fight Whittaker, due to a lack of pay that he believes he deserves. And he absolutely does. I hope Paulo Costa gets paid as much as possible, but he's only getting paid $70,000 to show and $70,000 to win. For a former title challenger and a guy who's been consistently in the top 10 for almost his entire UFC career, it's strange to see him get paid so little in comparison to some other fighters. But who are we to blame? I can see where some people are trying to blame it on the organization, but the organization is going to want to negotiate this with you, and if you accept a deal that isn't necessarily so good, that's kind of on you. So I understand how people are blaming Paulo Costa for accepting the deal and then being bitter about it. At the end of the day, man, I hope he gets paid. I'd like to see him fight again. He keeps the audience entertained. And this is never good for the fans because we don't get to see the person fight, and he doesn't get the money we wish he did. Though it's unusual, I don't believe there is a ranked competitor in the UFC who hasn't defeated a current UFC fighter. Paulo Costa's victories have all come against competitors who have since left the UFC. Luke Rockhold has retired, Yoel Romero has joined Bellator, and Uriah Hall has also confirmed his retirement. Johnny Hendricks has been freed from his contract and has announced his retirement. Gareth McClellan no longer competes in the UFC. Interesting stat, and it may be a significant bargaining technique because the organizations holding out against Paulo Costa for more money can simply remind him, hey man, you have no wins over anybody in the UFC, let alone a rated fighter, so it's a terrible position for Paulo Costa, but I hope everything works out for him. Another huge news is that Robert Whittaker has been pulled off the Perth card, which I hope they can maintain, since Jared Cannonier recently stated on an MMA Hour that he is eager to take a rematch. So, in 2 months, Cannonier will be ready to face Paulo Costa in Australia. Whittaker, I don't think, wants to get off the card. I don't believe he wants to cancel his training camp and everything. I mean, the effort is not in vain because it helps him become a better fighter. But he's preparing for a fight, he's spending money on a fight, and I feel he wants to be compensated at least for going up against someone he's already beaten quite soundly. I believe it is beneficial for him to choose at least one good option because there are none. Aside from that, who can Whittaker expect to face? Pereira will take on Adesanya, while Vettori is unlikely to appear. Bronson is temporarily unavailable. Costa has yet to sign a contract, Strickland recently lost, and I believe he'd rather fight Cannonier than Strickland. Hermansson recently suffered a defeat and has fallen dramatically in the rankings. He might try his hand at light heavyweight, but he has stated that he wants more time to move up to 205 and fight like Anthony Smith or whatever, which would put Whittaker at a significant disadvantage. I believe Cannonier is the only opponent who makes any logical sense without placing him at a disadvantage. It's not the best fight in the world, but it's entertaining, especially given Cannonier's strength, and you can always change a fight, and he did harm Whittaker in the 3rd round. If you recall, I hope they're able to make that fight. I want to see Whittaker on the card, and at least we get something out of this, you know.